Hello and welcome to MLB Pro's Rough Draft. This is episode 1. I already screwed up. We're already in, and I've already screwed up, but I'm keeping it. So this is episode 1 of MLB Pro's Rough Draft. My name is Scott Comey, and with me, hopefully, as always, going forward, Scott Guessford. Scott, how are you?
Good. How are you today, John?
I mean, you can see me. Thankfully, nobody else can, but I am the walking personification of a teacher this time of year. I look how teachers feel at this stage, which is somebody who woke up and directly and just walked directly into just a giant sound tunnel of just waves of I look like I've been slightly electrocuted. And yeah, anyway.
I understand that. My wife runs an after school program for her school district, and she has days like that all the time.
Yeah, it's a hoot. Anyway, let's get to some fun stuff. This is opening day for MLB Pro's 2023 season. And so we've decided to do a weekly, perhaps sometimes 2-week podcast where we are going to do, draft any number of things. Now, you may have, the three of you who heard the pod last year, whenever that was, with Jim and I, will remember the format. If not, here's the format. So we have taken a topic. We have drafted things within that topic that we want to talk about. We are going to give you the results of that draft. And typically we'll also have a non-MLB Pro draft, but today we actually have season predictions for the year. And then at the end, we have 3 questions, 3 things where we can take a side, and we're just going to do a running count on who's right, who's wrong. So if you don't get it, hopefully you'll get it by the end of the show. If you don't get by the end of the show, then I'm going to be confused too, and that's probably not a good thing. So
or maybe it'll be brilliant.
What's that?
I said maybe it'll be brilliant if nobody understands it.
I mean, that's some sort of like abstract Picasso stuff that I'm not sure if it translates over a audio medium, but hey, I mean, why not? I mean, maybe this becomes somebody's SMAR or whatever. Yeah, that's what it is. I hope not. I hope I'm not the voice of somebody's dreams. That would be terrible. So here is our topic for episode 1 is fittingly season opening storylines. What are the narratives to open the season? These aren't necessarily season long storylines. These are simply the storylines that are present now. And Scott, you had the first pick, so why don't you get us going?
I wanted to talk about the subject of Bryce Harper and the impact that he's going to have on the Atlanta Braves this year, and maybe the detraction from the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Sure. So what do you think is the immediate impact? I mean, obviously this is likely a win for Atlanta and a loss for Arizona, but what do you feel about this?
Yeah, well, in the long run, Harper's contract is going to be a sticking point for the Braves. They are already way over budget for next year. So in the short term, great signing. But in the long term, what is that impact going to be on the Atlanta Braves? Can they sustain having $180 million in the payroll, which is what they're projected for in 2024? Short term, big win. I think that helps the Braves become the AL East champions this year and moves the Diamondbacks back a little bit. And then with the loss of Ohtani on top of that, well, I'll talk about that more when we get to the predictions.
All right. Just so anybody not familiar with Harper's contract, it's an interesting one. It could potentially, though very unlikely, be a 1-year, $18.4 million contract. Or it is a 10-year, $359.6 million contract that will take Bryce Harper through his year 40 season. There are player opt-outs after the 31 season, and then or I guess before the 31 season. No, it can't be before the 31. I guess it could be. It's before the 31 season,
Yeah,
because
it's
it would have
before
to
the
be
31.
before,
Yeah.
and before the 32 season. Now, obviously for the Braves, it's actually one thing I did this afternoon in the middle of my very strange day is I actually compiled a spreadsheet of all of the park factors, like of all, figure out what's a hitter's park, what's a pitcher's park. And the contrast between Arizona and Atlanta and their parks is rather profound. Arizona may be, with all due, like outside of Colorado, the most offensive park in the league. Atlanta, not so much. It is an average ballpark that skews slightly towards the pitcher, but it is much less of an offensive park than Arizona, and especially when it comes to home runs. How that could affect Bryce Harper, I'm not sure, but it is worth noting that before he got to Arizona, he only had one season where he hit 30 or more home runs. That was 2017, where he hit 30 home runs. In 21 and 22 with Arizona, he hit a combined 79 home runs. So it's very possible that we see a regression back to what Bryce Harper was. And at that point, is he a disappointment? It really depends on the lens you view Harper through and the context you put him in. But I really think there's going to be some people saying like, oh, you overpaid for him.
I think it'll determine on how we look at that also. If we look at the $18.4 million 2023 contract and just compare it with that, or if we compare it over the 10-year, $300 million, $350 million contract.
I guess
two
it would
different
depend on
lenses.
if he opts out,
Yeah.
which would be the weirdest thing. It would be really weird if he were to opt out. Obviously, this is felt in Arizona. They have Norm Raleigh taking over currently for Harper in right field. Raleigh hit 216 in 442 plate appearances with Miami last year, 11 home runs, 44 RBIs. But you also look at Miami's ballpark, it is one of the greatest pitching parks in all of baseball. Doesn't mean that Raleigh's going to be Harper, but it's very possible that he's somebody who could get a little bit better. And to be honest, there are gettable outfielders available on the trade market that maybe Arizona picks one of them up. And this overall, I don't think it's going to be felt as badly for Arizona. They already have a great offense. They have the reigning MVP in Jeremy Scott. They have Vlad Jr. They have Matt Hansen. They have, Joey Gallo. They have Juan Marin. Like they're still set up very well in my view.
Yes, they'll still be towards the top of the NL West, even with the loss of Harper and Ohtani for 4 months.
Yeah. So that is definitely a good storyline to watch. My number one pick was injuries to key pitchers. And that of course starts with Ohtani. But if where is that report? The under the knife thing. It's gonna bother me. Anyway, so there are some rather big pitchers who are currently injured. So Ohtani, he's out for 4 months. You look at Boston, John Larson, Zach Potter, both out for the entire season. Ken Gary out for essentially the entire season. He's one of the better relievers in the league. Alex Fado in Cincinnati is out for 2 months. Toronto lost Craig Kimbrell. The Angels lost Alex Holtman before he can even really get going this year. And he was going to have, I think he was somebody they were counting on to be not necessarily key, but like you have him, you have the best rotation in baseball. Jared Cozart down for 8 weeks. He is somebody that could be trade bait for San Francisco. Now his that timetable set back. Jeff Wallace in Oakland. There are a lot of pitchers that are impactful. The other one I missed, Trevor Rogers with the Yankees. Like many people think like that wouldn't be a big one. That like Rogers could have been a great could have been a great trading piece for the Yankees, like a really a solid way to kind of get themselves back on solid ground. And now they're not going to have him. The Mets being without Manny Sachs for 3 months. It goes on. And so to me, like how these teams deal with it is especially the Red Sox and especially Arizona, that's a big story to open the year.
Yes, it is. I thought the Red Sox were going to have a chance this year to compete in the AL East, but with all those pitchers going down and being out for the season, I mean, I don't know what I do if I'm in his shoes now. Do I sell off and do a quick rebuild and be ready to go next year, or do I try to go out and get somebody or two to compete this year? But I don't think that they can compete with whether it is with Toronto or Baltimore or even Tampa Bay this year with the injuries that they have.
Yeah, Boston doesn't really have the prospects, I think. Like, I don't think you're going to sacrifice Dylan Lesko to try and rebuild what could be the 4th place team in the AL East. You're not going to trade Sammy Siani. And the offense, I mean, Greg Bird is the old man in at 30 years old. And he's also locked into a rather sizable contract. So I'm not sure how movable that deal is, but I don't think you're going to move a Todd Kuhn or Dave Allen to try and find a starter that may or may not help. I mean, yeah, they have Garrett Cole. Drew Lock is a thing. Logan Allen is, he went 7-15 in Pawtucket last year with a 5.16 ERA. He's currently slotted in as your 4th starter. That could be rather problematic. I mean, I would assume Porter Curran ends up getting into the rotation, but he's not there now. So it really does impact Boston. Obviously no injuries bigger than the Ohtani injury.
Right.
So like, they have enough starters to kind of deal with it. I mean, but at the same time, like Ohtani gets you on both sides of the plate. They're relying on Emilio Salazar and Joe Allen. Joe Allen currently slated as the 5th starter. He didn't start a game in 14 games last year with Arizona. All those were in the bullpen, where he also had he had an ERA of 2.29 and a whip of 1.73. I have a hard time reconciling that. He gave up 27 hits in 19 2/3 innings, but his ERA plus. Okay, so wait, his BABIP was 4.29, but his ERA plus was 1.77. This is one of the strangest stat lines I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, me too.
Like this is a guy who got out of jams that he put himself in. and he wasn't good in AAA. I'm not even sure how he got called up. He was 0-3 with a 6.04 ERA in AAA in Reno, a 1.88 IP or whip. Oh God, whip, a BABIP of 403, an ERA plus of 79. How did he get up to the pros? I have no idea.
I have no idea either. No starts in the bullpen. You know, Kimberly just seems to get a bunch out of the players that calls up.
I guess. I mean, it's. I would think it's very possible that right now they're running bullpen games every fifth game, but yeah, the Otani injury definitely is big, and just I mean, Toronto's like the other one. I mean, not that Kimbrel is you know, um,
Not at the top of his game
tremendous.
anymore, but
No, but uh, still you were counting on having this guy, and now he's not out. Like they signed him to that a 2-year, $20 million deal prior to this season. And now he's not out just through this year. He's out till looking like
let's see,
June of
13,
next year.
14 months. Yeah, at least. And that's if everything goes perfectly.
And at that point, he's going to be coming up on his 36th birthday. And he I mean, he was good last year, but 30 or 14 months, you go a year and a half or a year and a quarter without pitching, and you're 36. I mean, that's as big a blow for Toronto, I think, as it is the Shohei injury.
Yeah, it very well could be. I mean, that kind of knocks Toronto down a little bit out of the, does that open a door for Baltimore to seize that division, or Tampa Bay, or can Toronto overcome that injury? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll talk about Toronto a little bit more in a few minutes, but yeah, it just injuries are a little nuts. So, what was your second round pick? You have an interesting one here.
Yeah, my second round pick is the AL Central race. And when I was on doing my podcast yesterday, everybody picked Minnesota to win that division. And I just don't think that Minnesota is going to win that division again this year. And I definitely don't think that they are 10 games better as the preseason predictions state than Detroit or Kansas City. I actually see Detroit winning that division if Scalise and a couple other pitchers on Detroit have average years. Do you see Minnesota as the juggernaut of that division and going to win that division hands down, or not?
I think I do, and the reason is, well, okay, so Minnesota has the best offense in the division. It's not even close. You have to start there. Like if you look at individual units, Minnesota's offense is better than any unit that any other division or any other team in the division has.
But are they one Copeland injury away from being a fourth place team, third or fourth place team?
I don't think it's that deep. I mean, it's not like Detroit and Kansas City are juggernauts. Like Kansas City doesn't have the experience. They like they're still very young. Like, yep, they have Mark Baker. Mark Baker does not necessarily turn them into a favorite. Just like an injury to Copeland doesn't necessarily make them like an also ran. They still have Caleb Cowart. They have Joe Adell. They have Martin Lopez. Like they have a ton of bashers in this lineup. I would agree with you. I don't think they're 10 games ahead, but I mean, I think they're in like the 6 to 9 range right now. And they also, Minnesota still has a great bullpen. Detroit, they have, obviously Matthew Liberatore, who is, he's good. He's got the capability of being great, but he is also somebody who has shown a tendency to give up home runs at a solid clip, and he can get hit around. You're not really sure which version of Liberatore Detroit will get this year, because was he the 2021 version where he had a league low 247 BABIP, or is he the version from last year where he pitched to a 344 BABIP and had a 90 ERA plus? Like their rotation, the top of the rotation, they got Chris Scalise at the number 2 spot. It's unsettled to me. You kind of gotta let those guys come together. And Scalise's 377 BABIP makes me wonder if this really is a defense thing with Detroit. Now their defense does look better this year, but I mean, it was kind of clear last year that they really didn't care that much about defense, and you could see it in the BABIPs. Like Jason DeMont had a 339 BABIP. I think I said Scalise's was 377. I missed Kyle Cody. Kyle Cody, he had a 283 BABIP. He was arguably their best pitcher last year. So if your number 4 starter is your best pitcher, and he had a 127 WHIP, are you really the favorite in your division? I can't get behind that yet. I need to see Liberatore and Scalise like show that they are top of the rotation material in Detroit before I go saying, okay, that's a favorite over the Twins.
And I get that. And maybe I'm still bitter from Minnesota beating me in the World Series when I was with Cincinnati. But I still want to see Rocky get knocked down a peg or two here once in a while.
Well, I mean, I think that's coming. I absolutely think that's coming. I mean,
and what kind of extension is? I was going to say, what kind of extension do you think Copeland's going to be looking for?
Well, I'll get to that with my next draft pick.
Okay.
Cool. So just looking at Kansas City's rotation really quickly. I mean, they are young. And also, I wonder, can I pull it up here? I think so. There we go. So looking at their rotation of Bubic, Knapp, Nost, Mize, and Rivers. Bubic has started 58 games in his career. Knapp has started 0 games in his career. Nost has started 8 games in his career, in his major league career. Mize at 95 and Rivers at 69. That's not a lot to work off of. Mize in particular has been terrible since he's been in Kansas City. He's been terrible. He has a career ERA up to this point of 5.28. 22 and 37. And it's not like his FIP is any better. If his FIP is 4.75, they have questions too. So I'm definitely going to subscribe to the theory that like you are the king until somebody comes and takes your crown. And right now that it's still Minnesota, at least right now, and probably at least for one more year.
I get that. I just don't see them as being 10 games better. I think the race is going to go down to the last couple of weeks of the season for that division. I think they're going to beat up on each other, and we'll see how that ends up.
Oh yeah, of course. My second round pick is Stars on the trading block earlier than normal.
Oh,
So I mean, look, anybody in this league can get traded anytime. We know this. But
Yes.
here's a list of players who are going to be free agents after this year. And this I just gotta so yeah. So Gary Copeland, Josh Wilcox, Taylor Sparks, um, Giancarlo Stanton, Charles Cutler, Tim Lincecum, Bill Black, Ryan Copeland, Sean Gilmartin, and the list goes on and on. Like Cade Cahill in Tampa is another one. Wendell Ayers in Colorado. Like it is a rather Carson Fulmer in LA is he's been a very dependable reliever for them. If these teams get off to slow starts, I missed Martin Lopez in Minnesota. He's another. Again, it is a rather extensive list of potentially marquee free agents. If some teams get off to slow starts, like if Minnesota, just to bring them back up, but like if they are sitting at 8 games under 500 or you know in third place come June 1st or maybe even a little sooner, it's no secret that Gary Copeland can be had in a trade this year. It's there's no secret here.
No, Rocky's put
Um,
that out there a couple of times already.
yeah.
That he's
So
out there.
how soon, like it's the leverage game. How soon might teams who get off the slow starts, and I really circle back to Toronto because they have a ton of potential free agents, Wilcox, Stanton, Cutler, Lincecum, Gil Martin. How soon might these teams pull the trigger if they want to try and maximize a return versus try to pull it together? And that's where we might see early in the season some more chatter on these guys if some of these teams really do get off to slow starts, or if it's likely that they're not going to get them re-signed.
Right. But the other question begs at the other end of that is how many teams can afford Gary Copeland? Number one, the current currency is going to cost you in prospects. And number two, what kind of extension? Is he going to want 30, 35? Is he going to want a Harper extension? And then how many teams can afford that?
I think for somebody of Copeland's skill, and he's only 30, and the fact that the NL has the DH now, I think that's the other piece here. I think that if they really wanted Copeland moved, they could move him. The guy I think that is likely gone sooner than not might be Taylor Sparks in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I think that's pure leverage. Like I think Atlanta has to be motivated to do a deal because there's really no path towards re-signing him. And the longer you wait on that and start to move on from him, the less you're going to get in a return.
Exactly. And let me tell you who I think is a kind of waiting in the background. And that is Matt from the Angels. He has a lot of money out there. He has the prospects to go out and get anybody he wants. Is he going to feel threatened by Houston and Seattle to go out and make a big move? It's not like Matt. I mean, he doesn't usually make big splashes. But look at all the people he's lost over the last 2 years. Can he be somebody that sneaks in there and goes after and gets a Copeland or Taylor Sparks and then re-signs them for long term?
Yeah, like you know, the Angels currently have Josh Bell as their first baseman. He is signed to a 1-year deal. Like it wasn't a he's likely not there long term. And Josh Bell is somebody that Atlanta could plug in the short term if they do move on from Sparks. Like there is a willing trade there. The other one that I think would be very interesting to watch. I mean, there really is two. Um, you know, Wilcox in Toronto and Ryan Copeland with the Cubs. Again, you can look at salary, but again, it's also prorated over the course of the season, so you're not taking on the full 28 million if you trade for him in June or July or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But Copeland, if the Cubs do not get out of the gate well, I think Copeland becomes the target number one for any potential contender in the league. And Josh Wilcox, he is 29. He is a multi-tool star. He's not the guy he was in 2018 with the Mets, where he had a 9.1 WAR, but it's very possible that he is still a 5.5, 6 WAR player. And he might also be somebody who is still reasonably affordable after this season. So if things fall off the rails for the Blue Jays, they at least have ways to jumpstart a rebuild or reload or however you want to call it. But those two in particular, I think, are going to be very interesting to watch early on this season. And Toronto, we're going to circle back to one more time in this draft. But yeah, that's what I think is number 2 on this list.
Awesome. So my third was, how long before Jim starts complaining about his starters? Does he make it past tonight's game without complaining about his starter?
Well, let's see.
Tonight's Libator, so he might make it to game 2 when Scalise pitches.
Well, he hasn't said anything. And I know that a team checked in on Scalise. And my understanding is that he indicated that he is in for Scalise long term, even though he complains about him a lot. But they're rolling with the staff as is. Now, it doesn't mean he's not going to complain. I would wager, like, if you took the over under as I don't know, third inning of tonight's game, I might very well take the under on that.
Yeah. Who's he playing today? He is playing you.
Oh, well,
Tampa
then
Bay.
I don't think there's anything to worry about there with
Oh.
with Toronto's or with Tampa's offense. I'm not really sure there's anything to worry about. And that game's in Tampa, which is a dreadful offensive ballpark. So yeah,
Jim doesn't need much to complain about. A couple
no.
walks and he's going to start complaining. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think if
that
there's
was would he make it past this weekend without complaining about at least one of his starters?
I think the only way he makes it past this weekend if he's moving another house and isn't on the chat. That's the only way. Like if he's like, I'm moving another house, I'll be back on Monday. Then he'll make it. Otherwise, no.
But then he'd make it to Monday, and that would be it.
Right, but he would still make it there, and that would be
That's
gone.
true.
My third pick is about Danny Hultzen. Are we primed to see a pitching season for the ages with Danny Hultzen in Dodger Stadium? I think we are. I think, like, him in this stadium and It Dodger Stadium, just to so Dodger Stadium is like you'll give up home runs there, but you're not giving up much else typically. Like it is a ballpark that is very much aimed at helping the pitcher. And this ballpark is made for Danny Hultzen. It is absolutely made for this guy. The Dodgers have great defense. They have a great catcher behind the plate. I very, very much like Danny Hultzen to start the season, especially. They open at home against Arizona. He would likely start again. Well, he would likely start in Arizona then. I think, yeah. But then he gets the Cubs, the Mets, at Pittsburgh, potentially against St. Louis. Like he is set up to really get out to an excellent start on his season. I don't know, what do you think about Hultzen in Dodger land?
I tried to sign Hultzen. He was my first try, and then Sam came in and offered him $34 million a year, and that really, a smart market team dropped me out real quick. But I look at Hultzen. He has pitched. Well, sorry, 1 year he didn't hit 200 innings. He hit 198.2 innings back in 2014. Outside of that, he has pitched over 200 innings every year in his big league career. The last time he had an ERA, last year he had a 3.7 ERA. That is way above his career average.
Yeah, but his BABIP was also 338. Like it wasn't like he was pitching under normal circumstances for Hultzen.
Right. Yeah. We just look at his last 5 years. He had a 4.8 raw, 6.5, 5.0, 7.8, 5.9. Can he get into the mid eights? I see him maybe even getting into the mid eights, or maybe even sneaking up at 9 as a pitcher. I just think he's going to catch fire and not let go all year long.
It's also interesting to note that the Dodgers have 2 Cy Young pitchers on their staff, with Hultzen winning 3 Cy Youngs, and then Nathan Eovaldi having won 2, including being the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner. And Eovaldi's not the number 1 on the staff. That I think tells you what you need to know about Hultzen, that if you don't know it already. But he just, that was as good a signing, even at 5 years, 170, that takes him through his age 38 season, or 33, his age 37 season.
Yeah.
But all you need is 1 World Series, and that's paid for. Like that, it's worth it. Just 1 banner.
Oh yeah.
And Hultzen puts them in the short conversation for that. Which, speaking of,
yes, he does. Yeah.
We should probably look at our, take the draft break and look at our season predictions.
Sounds good to me. And you and I are pretty different in the American League.
Yeah, that was actually one of the things I didn't mention when you looked at the NL or the AL Central, was one of the, like, I have a full list of things that I was considering picking. And when you took the AL Central, I took the AL hierarchy off of my board, thinking like, oh, maybe we'll circle to it. And we didn't, but like the AL is all like it's a very varied league in terms of the contenders, which is great, unless you're one of the contenders, at which point that sucks. But anyway,
right. Yeah.
So who are your playoff participants for the AL this year? Who are you taking?
All right. In the AL East, I took what would be considered to be an upset. I actually took Tampa Bay to win a division. I know you're shaking your head over there, but
Suckers money.
I wanted to be a little bit different and out there, but I just don't see. I see Kimbrel's, injury that knocks Toronto down a little bit more. Baltimore, I think, maybe played a little bit over their head last year. Not sure they can still compete at that same level. The pitching woes in Boston, I just see maybe this being one of those years where Tampa going to sneak up there and maybe with 87 or 88 games win that division.
Okay. All right. Keep going, then I'll do mine.
Okay. In the AL Central, I went with Detroit. I just don't think that Rocky is a lock for that division. And I'm not saying it's not going to be a close division race. I think it's going to be a 3-team race. It's not going to be I don't think it's going to be a runaway. In the AL West, I picked the Houston Astros, who I think is just like a monster team. If he gets any kind of pitching, he might win, 105 games this year. For wild cards, I took Seattle, I took Minnesota, and I took Toronto. I left the Angels off the playoffs in the American League. I know that's probably a pretty bold prediction, but like I said before, I see Matt can go out there and make a trade and turn his fortunes around really quickly.
I don't think I don't think the Angels are. You'll see with mine, but I don't think the Angels are don't need their fortunes turned around. I think it's interesting you say that if Houston gets some pitching, that they'll be really good. They have a great offense. The pitching is suspect. The pitching is at least the starters are to me. Like that's definitely something to look out for there.
Bill Black is his number one pitcher as of right now, who had a 5 ERA last year between the White Sox and Houston.
And honestly, the only reason I think he's number one, is it's not even really breaking up the lefties, because you're gonna have he has 4 lefties in the rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Juan Davila is the number 2 starter, but I can see an argument where Davila becomes the number 1. But it's so I have Baltimore. The interesting thing about Baltimore is they have reinforcements in the minors. I mean, they have a stacked team already. They have incredible pitching, and they have a potential dark horse, which in the Cy Young race, in Sixto Sanchez, if he's able to really put it together this year, he could rise up and be a Cy Young frontrunner. I have Minnesota in the Central. I took the Angels in the West because pitching wins, and the Angels have the perfectly cultivated pitching staff for their ballpark and for their team. They're gonna their offense is probably gonna suffer a little bit, but I think Zach Erstad is probably going to be the next great Angels hitter. He's currently slotted to lead off for the Angels, and I think he's somebody that will be a household name by June or July. The wild cards, I have the Astros as the number 1 wild card. I have Seattle as the number 2, and I have Kansas City as the 3rd one. I think Toronto's got a lot of things they have to have go right for them. And I feel like if you're just looking at the curve, I know I talked about Kansas City's pitching needing to take a decided step forward. Tampa's offense needs to take a decided step forward. Elliot Jenkins while a great pickup, is not the complete answer for Tampa's offense. Neither is Bobby Witt. There are too many holes in swings in that lineup for consistent offense. And when that happens, you will lose a lot of 2-1 games. So I'll take Kansas City there.
But on the other hand, they get hot and they can go on a 8, 10, 12 game winning streak.
Yeah, they did it last year twice.
Yeah.
And still lost out in the end. It is very possible that Tampa could be in the race for Taylor Sparks, but at the same time, they already have a very capable first baseman in Nick Pratto, and if you put Sparks at DH, what are you doing with like Cruz or O'Connell? Like Tampa is kind of who they are now. Like they have to go and get it done, and I'm not sure that they will.
I think you're a second baseman or a shortstop away.
Well, we'll see about that. Who are you taking in the National League?
Well, I'm thinking of the National League. Well, I think Atlanta in the NL East is going to run away with that division now after the acquisition of Harper. I took the Cardinals to repeat in the National League Central. I took the Dodgers to win the West, mainly because of Ohtani being out and the loss of Harper. But I see Arizona getting the number 1 wild card spot. I have Philadelphia getting the number 2 wild card spot. And my sleeper in the National League is going to be Cincinnati this year. I can see them sneaking into the playoffs and beating out Milwaukee for that final playoff spot.
All right. I mean, I don't have any qualms with any of that. I think I don't Cincinnati in, but I could totally see them getting in there. I have the Phillies in the NL East. Perhaps it's bias, but like they didn't lose anybody from last year's team, and they added Parker Markel, who is a very capable starting pitcher, very solid starting pitcher. And you're getting year 2 of Andrew Vaughn after he won Rookie of the Year last year. Assume he's going to improve, and you've got Anthony Hale in his prime. Like Cam Gundy really took a big step up last year. Like it's very possible we could be saying Cam Gundy is the best third baseman in the league by the All-Star break this year. They are a much better team than I think a lot of people give them credit for. The Braves have a ton of talent, but they also have talent that has underachieved. Miller Thomas, I'm looking at you. Dylan Carlson. I know you played part-time last year, or not really, like you did it with Oakland. Like you're somebody who's got to step up. Oyashi. Definitely looking at you. Like they've got to right their ship offensively before I crown them as champs. I have the Brewers in the Central, which is where we divulge the most. I think the Central's up. Honestly, it's a toss-up of a few teams.
Right.
And so I just went with Milwaukee. They have the talent. A lot of people were wondering last year, like, what happened to the Brewers? So I just thought maybe they're a team that gets back on track and wins the Central. I have the Dodgers in the West. I have Arizona in the first wild card, Atlanta in the second wild card, and I took St. Louis in the third wild card because of their pitching staff and literally nothing else.
Yeah, we had a lot of the same teams, just maybe in a little bit different order for the National League.
Yeah,
and,
the NL seems a little more cut and dry to me.
Yeah, and once you get in, it's anybody's ball game, right?
Yeah, I mean, the one team that we both overlooked that will we could definitely be be just hitting ourselves in midseason is Colorado.
Yes. Colorado
Um,
has a pretty good team. I just don't know if they can compete with the Dodgers in Arizona like they did last year. I mean, you know, they did
but
well
if you
last year.
but if you can get into the if you just get in as the third wild card, um, you got a chance. And honestly, like I probably should have taken Colorado over St. Louis. In fact, screw it, I'm doing that. I'm taking Colorado over St. Louis. I'm changing it. Yeah, I'm taking Colorado as my third wild card over St. Louis. So, um, yeah, I think the Rockies are a better team than St. Louis. And
And I
I
go
think
with pitching. I think St. Louis has the pitching.
so. The Rockies. I mean, the Rockies have solid pitching as well. You're battling that ballpark, but you play a
Right.
balanced schedule this year, which
Hmm.
I think there's now a balanced schedule. That
Yes.
favors the Rockies. That favors the Rockies
By
wholeheartedly.
far, yeah.
So yeah, I'll take the Rockies as their wild card.
Because it kind of knocks off St. Louis from having a few easy wins,
Yeah,
you know, against the other teams, Pittsburgh and well, the Cubs.
yeah, oh yeah,
Uh, so yeah, I could see Colorado sneaking in there for sure.
yeah. All right, who you got in the World Series?
I took Houston versus Arizona in the World Series. I think Ohtani will be getting back to his normal self come September and hitting and pitching, and I think that'll propel Arizona back into the World Series. But I also see them falling short to another AL West team. I picked Houston to win the whole thing.
All right, I have Houston winning the AL. I don't feel great about that, but um, it also can very much be, the playoffs are not about who is necessarily the best team. It's about the draw.
Hmm.
And Houston, if Houston were to draw like Minnesota in the first round, well, that's a very favorable draw. Um, and I have Houston like you do. I have the Dodgers. That's one where if the Dodgers get the 1 seed, which I think they're set up to do, then everything's got to go through Dodger Stadium, and that absolutely favors the Dodgers. And then I have the Dodgers beating Houston in the World Series. Again, pitching, 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 pitching.
Well, yeah,
Um,
because the Dodgers could go with a three-man rotation. You got Holtzen and Evaldi at the top of your rotation. That's almost seems like it's two guaranteed wins
oh yeah, yeah.
there. So, well, then we went out on a limb and picked who we thought was going to be like the MVPs, the Cy Young, and Rookie of the Years.
Right.
Do you want to go through your list first?
So I'll do the. We could do. We'll do the award. Individual awards. So MVPs. I took Gary Copeland in the AL. Contract year, contract year, contract year. And I did take Jeremy Scott to repeat in the NL. He is arguably the best hitter in the National League in the second best hitters park in the National League. I like his chances more than anybody else to repeat as the MVP. So I have them as my MVPs.
And for me, I took Jose Gonzalez from Houston for the American League, and I took Jeremy Scott's teammate in Vlad Guerrero Jr., who I think was second in the MVP voting last year, wasn't he? Or he was up there with them.
Harper finished second
Harper.
MVP.
Oh, okay. I knew
But
Arizona had like three in the top 5 or 6 people. So,
right.
yeah, I can see Vlad Guerrero being, getting there to win this year. He's going to be hitting cleanup for Arizona. So a lot of people on base, a lot of chances to drive in runs. And I just think Jose Gonzalez is the real deal and has been in Houston. And I don't see that changing with their lineup. He's batting third. Last year he had 7.3 raw, 27 homers, 91 RBIs. I see him improving on those numbers for this year and beating out Copeland for the AL MVP.
Where Vlad gets hurt in the MVP count is Otani's injury. Because Otani presumably would hit fifth in that lineup. If not, like he would hit behind Vlad, I would think. And if that were the case, like you can pitch around Guerrero. Like you can't pitch around Scott because you got Guerrero behind you.
True.
You could pitch around Guerrero because Matt Hansen, while he's a good hitter, he's not the same kind of threat that Otani is. And if you have 4 months of Matt Hansen behind Vlad Jr., I think that could be limiting on Guerrero's chances, though I think he would definitely be a worthy candidate. Who are your Cy Young picks?
My Cy Young pitch in the American League is Lucas Giolito from Minnesota. And in the National League, I took Nathan Eovaldi being able to pitch out of that number 2 hole in Los Angeles. So maybe get a little bit easier matchups than what Holtzon's going to get in the number 1 spot.
Yeah.
Repeat.
Yeah, both worthy picks. Didn't Giolito win last year? He did.
Did he? I think he did.
Yeah, so you're just running it back with the 2 of them. I'm picking Justin Hooper to finally break through and win his first Cy Young. And I mean, I can't be talking about Holtzon the way I did earlier and not take him to win the Cy Young in the National League. So they're my 2 Cy Young picks.
Yeah, very solid picks. I mean,
yeah,
both
I
of them could
originally
win easy.
I originally took Sixto Sanchez in the AL because I think if Baltimore is going to have the best record in the AL, and it's because Sixto Sanchez puts it together. But I cannot dismiss the narrative of Hooper's first Cy Young award.
That
Especially
and
after 2
Sixto
years
gives
he's
up a
had.
lot. Sixto gives up a lot of home runs. That may be his downfall from
Right.
being able to stay in the Cy Young race.
Right. And that's why, I use the qualifier. If Baltimore ends up with the best record, it is because Sixto Sanchez has put it together and has become a true ace, which would then catapult him into a Cy Young frontrunner. But the Hooper narrative is just too strong for me. I had to take Hooper. For the rookies of the year, I took Zach Erstad with the Angels. I mean, he did it part-time last year. He's going to be leading off for the team that I think will finish with the best record in the American League, in the Angels. And I think he could easily be an all-star this year, which if you're an all-star as a rookie, you better be winning Rookie of the Year. In the National League, I took Jacob Heatherly, who's going to be in the Braves rotation this year. Kind of with the same premise, like Atlanta's going to be good, Atlanta's going to be competitive. Heatherly did a good job last year in his bit time pitching in Atlanta. I think he was 4-0 with 3-0 in 4 starts, 1.09 whip. And he has, if he keeps that going, doesn't exactly have the track record of keeping that going, but if he keeps that going, I think he's going to win the award. It was harder to pick the National League Rookie of the Year. I only really had 3 candidates. You took one of them that I was going to take, and so I took somebody different.
Yeah, I look at Heatherly, but I'm just not 100% sure that Brenton's going to put him in the rotation long term. I think he might keep him in the bullpen, long relief, spot start to keep his innings kind of in check this year.
We'll see. I mean, I was debating between Heatherly and Jordan Groshans in Pittsburgh. I'm going to stick with Heatherly because I think he could be somebody who gets, especially over somebody like if he replaces Lucas Sims in the rotation, then he's going to be starting, and I think that's more likely than not. So,
I consider Groshans also, but wasn't sure. Saw in the chat a couple of times that Jonathan was questioning whether he's going to keep him or send him back.
It is confirmed that Groshans will be making his major league debut tonight.
Yes, I like him. I mean, he played for the A's last year before I parted them in a trade for who did I trade him for? Play shortstop, Franco. So, who I took in the American League is I took your Bobby Witt Jr. I just feel like he's by far the best prospect. Doesn't mean he's going to have the best year. I just think that he's the best prospect out there, and for that reason, I took him. And the other one I took in the National League was KJ Costello from Philadelphia, who right now Philadelphia, I believe, is putting him in the DH role and batting him eighth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he has a great glove in left field, or he could even play in center field. So I see him getting plenty of at bats and just being able to hit the daylights out of the ball. And that's who I took in the National League.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at the, like, if I'm Philly, my alignment is you know, Luis Robert, or yeah, let me just double check on no, it would be Hale in right, it'd be Costello in center, and it'd be Luis Robert in, or Rivera in left, with Andrew Vaughn as the DH.
Yeah, me too. That's the way I would line them up. But that's me.
Yeah. Costello should absolutely be the center fielder to start the season. I mean, Hale's a good center fielder, but Vaughn is not a good outfielder. And with Costello, I mean, you could put Costello in left field. I mean, why not put Costello in left field? Just move on the DH.
Yeah,
I like Costello too. Looking at Witt, I don't think he's going to put up the stats to be rookie of the year compared to Erstad, but we'll see. He's going to have the chances. He's
it depends
starting.
on how he gels with the rest of your team. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he is starting up on the big league roster, which was guaranteed not to happen, but but victim of circumstance, and he hit well when he came back from injury. He hit well in spring training. Doesn't mean anything, but he's going to start the year there. Let's get back to the draft. We have our second half here, which will go by more quickly than the first half. But we have rounds 4 through 6. Who's your
my next
fourth round
thing
pick?
was who's the first manager to go get fired this year? And I'm not sure any manager is going to get fired during the year. I don't. I've talked about firing in Oakland, the manager, a couple times to try to see if that would help with the team. Brenton's always a question mark on whether he's going to fire his manager, but he got back Desi Wilson, and so I don't see him doing that. Who do you think might be out there on the hot seat?
Mark Bellhorn in Detroit, potentially. I mean, yeah, he won 90 games last year, but when GMs are fickle, moves could be made. Maybe Jim Thome in Milwaukee, if they don't rebound the way they want. And no, I can't see that one. I mean, they just brought him on. I mean, that I maybe oh no, I can't really see this one either, but I don't know that there's anybody out there that would replace Greg Lovelady, who is a first year manager in San Diego and only has 1 year of manager experience, period, that being last year in the Pacific Coast League, where he went 64-78 with El Paso, and now he's with the San Diego team that I think has some expectations this year. But if they don't respond to this guy, Could there be a really quick hook on him? I don't know. That would be, I think that would be kind of tough. Outside of that, I can't see much. At least to not right out of the gate. I mean, Toronto would have been the obvious candidate, but they just hired a manager. So the two that I mentioned are probably the closest to that happening. My fourth round pick, simply just has a narrative. Are there finally no great teams? So I look back through the history today. We have never, or MLB Pro has never had a season in which a team did not win 100 games. In every single season, at least one team has won 100 games. That could end this season because there aren't, outside of the Yankees, with all due respect to the Yankees, outside of the Yankees, there are no truly terrible downtrodden teams in the league. And with that being the case, and in the Yankees division, the other four teams are going to beat the crap out of each other. So you have the Angels, who presumably are not as good as last year. You have the Mariners, who are presumably not as good as last year. You have the Astros, who are really good, but are they that much further along than the Angels and the Mariners? I don't think so. And you have the Dodgers, who look really good, but you also have Arizona, who is really good. And you have Colorado, who is pretty good, if not really good, in that division. The Central, neither Central will have a team winning 100 games. And neither team in the East probably will have a team. Like Atlanta, maybe, but Washington, New York, and Philly are all going to have a decided say in that. So I think it's very possible that this is a year where nobody wins even more than, say, 97 games, which would be really good for the league.
It would be great. It would be great for the league to get more parity involved. And I think you're right. I think the Angels have lost some people over the last couple of years. Seattle broke up the big three pitchers this year. That's going to knock them down a bit. With all the pitchers that you said were injured earlier in the cast, that all makes it where, we may not see a 100-win season this year. I think the best team to get to 100 this year is going to be the Dodgers.
Yeah, and I mean, there are certain roadblocks towards them getting there.
Yes.
I think the balanced schedule helps, but it also, I'm not sure they're going to do it. They may lead the league, but I think it caps at 97, which again would be great for the league. All right, where's you got your fifth round pick?
Yeah, my fifth round pick is I wanted to know where the heck everybody's been all off season. Nobody's been around in the chat room and chatting it up as much as normal. And I thought I'd pick up as we got to the preseason and spring training games, and it did a little bit, but not so much. So hopefully, as we approach opening day in just 3 hours from now, that we start getting more activity in the chat room, more trade blocks going, more all that kind of stuff gearing up. How do you see that?
I mean, I think it's starting to perk up here. I mean, I know I wasn't somebody who was really around in the off season. I just time, like it was just time. It's and also I had nothing to talk about because there was nothing really happening. Now there's stuff happening. There's stuff to talk about. So, I think that will be a thing that perks up, at least for most people across the league. So, but if we're still asking this question in a week or two, then maybe a deeper discussion needs to be had. I don't know. So I have something directly baseball related, and that's Toronto's schedule and potential consequences. So I've been really on Toronto here because I think all eyes and all pressure are on the Blue Jays. So here's their opening schedule. They open in St. Louis. Then they go to Kansas City for 4 games, and then they go and play the Angels in Anaheim. Then they get Detroit and Tampa at home, which is no, that's
It's not easy.
no. Then they go to Houston with no off day. Like that is a 9-game stretch where they have a 6-game homestand, and then they go to Houston immediately from the 17th, 19th. Then they're at the Yankees, and then they get the White Sox. Okay, maybe. The games are in New York. Like that's not necessarily a gimme. Then they get Seattle. Then they're at Boston. They're at Pittsburgh with their revamped pitching staff. And then they're in Philly, and then they have Atlanta. And then just to close out May, they have 4 against the Yanks at home, but then they have Baltimore, and then they're at Tampa for 4, and then they're at Minnesota before ending May with Milwaukee. This, I haven't looked at any other schedule. I would really be hard pressed to find a schedule that is more difficult over the first 2 months than this one. And that's why when I talk about the trade block and if there's a potential where stars could be traded early, no team also has more of their core entering a walk year than the Blue Jays. Now, if Baltimore or Tampa get off the hot starts, and probably more likely Baltimore, because I think Baltimore will be more difficult to catch. But if Baltimore goes and I mean, let's say Toronto is just average the first 2 months, and they're looking at like a 9-game cushion between them and Baltimore. Do you detonate? Do you hope that you can make up 9 games against a Baltimore team that has presumably been good enough to be 9 games ahead of you over the first 2 months? And that's why this is absolutely something to watch at the beginning of the season. That there is a very real potential fallout on how Toronto does in the opening weeks of this season.
Yeah, and while you were talking, I went and I looked at Baltimore's schedule. So they start off in Boston, and then they go to Texas, and then they return home to play against the Yankees, and then they play against the A's and at the White Sox, at Washington, 3-game series against Detroit, 3 games against Boston, and to end April with 4 in Detroit. That's a lot easier, it seems like, than Toronto's schedule. So they could theoretically get off to a hot start and never look back.
The toughest stretch for the Orioles looks to be the beginning of May, where they're in Kansas City, then they're Atlanta, and then home to Tampa, and then they get Pittsburgh and 4 at home against the Angels before going to Toronto. But then they get the Yankees and Texas and Cleveland for 9 at home to end May. Like this is set up very much against Toronto.
It is.
And so if that plays out in this scenario, I think there's a very distinct possibility that there is a mass exodus of older players out of Toronto by the beginning of June, if not sooner.
Yeah, I can see that. So my 6th and final round pick this year is: are we seeing the end of the Angels dynasty? The Angels aren't as good as they were. They have a harder schedule, and I just don't see them. Like I said, I didn't even predict them to make the playoffs. Now, maybe I kind of did that tongue in cheek because they're in my division or whatever, but I just see them falling off a bit and getting into the upper 80s in wins and fighting for a playoff spot and not just coasting like it seems like they've been able to do the last few years.
I could see them bridging. I don't think it's the end. So Alex Holtzen, who is currently atop the rotation in LA, he's 24. Kyle Funkhauser is 29. Okay. Brady Singer's 26. Alex Holtman, how old's Holtman? Holtman's 23, right?
24. Oh
He's
wait.
20. He's 23 and turned 23 a week ago.
Okay, yeah.
They have I think they have a couple guys down in AAA as well that can be helpful. But then you look at the lineup, Austin Tate is 22. Zach Ersted's 24. Nomar Mazar is 27. Brian Hennessy's 25. Nick McCoy is 27. Anthony Kerr's 28. Like they're not in a situation like Toronto or like potentially in Minnesota where there has to be clear turnover. And the pieces are in place for them to bridge to the next great run of Angels teams, in my opinion. And I think they have a clear path toward getting players to fill in the spots that they need. And so I want to say that you're smoking a pipe dream.
I very well might be, but I got to see a path to taking down the big three in the AL West. I mean, I'd like to see that blockade destroyed and allow other teams to be able to pop up there.
I think the easier path to that was Seattle. Because Seattle's pitching staff, even with adding Gary Griffith, their pitching staff is not that good. It's sure as hell not what the past few years have been. Like if you're looking at a team that's going to take a step back, like I think it's Seattle more than LA.
Could be.
In fact, I have Seattle. Okay, I have Seattle in the wild card. But they're my wild card too. And that's because I think there's a clear line between Seattle and the Tampa, Kansas City, Toronto, Detroit, like that grouping, Kansas City grouping. But Kansas City's not that far off. I mean, one of the topics I had at the beginning that I got off after the trade was made with Tampa was it was Hooper and the Who's, because it's really a lot of like, who are these guys?
I think Matthew Thompson is a good young pitcher. He's only 22.
Right. He has 5 starts. He has 5 starts at the big league level with a 6.75 ERA. Yeah, I think he could put it together. He also throws a lot of his stuff is flat a lot of the time. He does not. It doesn't look like he gets lit up for home runs a lot, but he's going to need time to adjust. And then you've got what amounts to like 3 journeymen at the back of the rotation. Now, obviously, Griffith steps in as your 2, which then probably bumps out any one of these of Javier Garcia, Kyle Wright, or Blaine Knight. I feel like Kyle Wright and Blaine Knight are just there because they rhyme. Seriously, like I really like they're not guys who are going to lead Seattle to big things. Like Blaine Knight, according to scouts I talked to, like he's still developing a changeup at 26.
Well, he's the odd man out with Griffith coming. Far.
Absolutely. So, but I like Seattle's the one I would target as being the team that has to take a pause. The Angels, I just can't see it. Wouldn't mind seeing it, but I can't see it. Okay, so the last pick. This takes a little explanation, and I will try to be quick. The storyline is simply this: is the current version of MLB Pro Baseball too unattractive? And I'm not talking about the resurgence of beards. So I went on and I looked at I went in the Stats Plus and I just queued up some team stats over the past 10 years. You know, we have 10 years of data to pull from, or I guess 11. I guess it would be 11 seasons at this point, when at 2012 through 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just take a guess here. In terms of team batting average, I know batting average, not the best statistics, but it's what we have to go off of. How many teams in 2022 made the top 50 overall? So
Maybe
how many teams?
two.
How many teams from last year? Okay, so 4 did. I actually didn't write them down because I didn't have a lot of space, but we know who the offenses are. You know, the Angels, the Houston, I think, the Minnesota, and I believe the other one was,
Arizona.
yeah, Arizona, definitely. How many teams made the top 50 of all teams in MLB Pro history in slugging percentage? Top slugging percentage, the top 50.
I'll try two again.
Okay, so it was 3. It was 3, which still, you know, but 2's believable. How many teams were in the top 50 in strikeouts batting?
Oh, that's going to be high. I'm going to say 9.
14.
I knew I was going to be low.
14 teams in the top 50 in strikeouts. How many teams do you think are in the top 50 in strikeouts from before 2020?
I'm going to say that's going to be a low number. I'm going to say 4 or 5.
0.
Wow.
No, the top 50 are all teams from 2020, 2021, 2022. How many teams made the top 50 in team ERA in 2022?
That's going to
Or
be a
from
relative
2020?
high number. I'll say 8.
2.
No.
2. That one I did write down, the Dodgers and Atlanta. How many teams made the top 50 in FIP from the 2022 season?
6.
2. Again, the Dodgers, and this time Arizona. How many teams are in the top 50 in quality starts since the 2020 season?
That's going to be a low number. A lot of pitchers don't even go 6 innings anymore. I'm going to say 3.
4. You're a little high on that. Just a couple of other things here. There were only 7 teams that were in the top 50 in strikeouts pre-2020. This is pitching strikeouts. Only 7 of them. So 43 of the top 50 in pitching strikeouts are from 2020 through 2022. 23 of the top 25 teams in K strikeout to walk percentage are post 2020 teams. Only 9 pre-2020 teams rank in the top 50 in strikeout percentage, and the top one is 33rd. And in the WPA stat, there are only 5 post 2020 teams in the top 50. The game is not even 3 true outcomes. Yep, hits are up a little bit, not much. Again, 4 were in the top 50, like, and you thought 2. But the game is a very much swing and miss and seemingly some accidental hits. And that makes me wonder, who the hell is tuning in to watch this? And what can the league do to start putting the ball back in play again? Like, I was really surprised when I was and I wasn't, because I knew strikeouts were up a lot, but I didn't think it was that stunted. But there has to be some sort of balance again, and I'm not really sure what it will take. But I think it's a storyline worth the beginning of the year.
It is. We'll have to keep an eye on that for the whole year, because I mean that's staggering stats right there on how inept, you know, MLB Pro is on the offensive side. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
you have your 7, 8, 9 WAR guys, and then you have everybody else in the 1, 2, 3s.
Well,
So
and I think I know what uh, a contributing factor is to that is that the league, and this was something that I was going to draft and I didn't, but the league has an ageism problem, and too many younger hitters are taking up at bats, um, which they're just striking out constantly. And like, so I mean, I just did this really. I looked at the numbers here, um, and this obviously isn't total because some teams haven't made their final cuts yet. But players under 30, um, this is easy to find out. You just go under the find all MLB players, and you don't look up minor leaguers or free agents or any of that. Players under 30, there are 724 of those on rosters. Again, not the total 26-man rosters, but players who are 30 and up. So like 30 and up, not 31 and up. Players who are 30 and up, there's only 192 of them on rosters. 192. There are 138 in the minors. There are 46 in free agency. As the league has gotten younger, it has gotten more inconsistent, and you feel that more offensively. I don't know what the fix is for that, but there's got to be some sort of fix, because I can't imagine people like chicks don't dig the strikeout.
they
So
dig the long ball.
yeah. All right. We so to close this show, one, we will get this down to an hour, trust me. But we have 3 questions that hopefully we'll be taking from the audience in the future, but we have 3 things that we are going to answer and go head to head on, and we're just going to keep a tally of it over the course of the season. So, and the time frame is from tonight's games through our next pod, which is currently slated on Tuesday night, or Tuesday late afternoon. So before Tuesday's game. So let's run through Monday's games. So I came up with these 3. Sometimes Scott will come up with these 3. Sometimes, hopefully, other people will come up with these. The first one is an over/under on undefeated teams. I put it at 3.5. So did you take the over or the under here?
I took the under. At the most, I could see 3 series going undefeated, perfect. But I don't even see that. I'd be, 1, maybe 2 is where I would put it.
Okay. So obviously I went really high here. I'm not even sure why I went this high. I think I meant to go 2.5, but even if it went 2.5, you'd still take the under.
I would.
I don't think there will be any undefeated teams. So I took the under as well, but I don't think there'll be any undefeated teams. And that's probably why I should have made it 1.5. The over/under on the home run leader come our next pod is at 3.5. So if you take the under, you think that the home run leader will have 3 home runs. If you take the over, you're thinking that they will have at least 4. What did you take?
I took the under, like you said. I don't think we're going to have anybody hit that many long balls here in the first weekend of our season.
I took the over on this. And I think, I mean, there are potentially a couple of options here. I think especially with the Astros hosting the White Sox, there's definitely some potential there. Also, Copeland's in Kansas City. There's potential there. Obviously, Arizona playing the Dodgers, that kind of makes it difficult, but for any of their big bats to really get going. And Atlanta's in Washington, which is going to be hard for the Braves big bats to get going. But I think somebody's going to get 4.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, if not 5. I think 5 might be stretching a little bit. All right, last one. Former Seattle Big Three. So Holtzen, Hooper, and Mark Appel go undefeated on opening day. They're all slotted to start tonight. Or well, I guess it would be tonight. But
tonight.
Justin Hooper going against Cleveland. You have Danny Holtzen going against Arizona, and then Mark Appel, who is making his first start for the Pirates, will go against Cincinnati. So do you think they will go undefeated?
No, I think they'll get one victory out of those 3.
Who do you think is going to get it?
I think it will be Hooper against Cleveland, Seattle against Cleveland.
Okay. Yeah, I said no as well. I think it's very likely the Holtzen could get a no decision tonight. But I mean, going up against Andrew Morales, like that is a tall order, and that lineup, of course. But yeah, I feel like Hooper is most likely to get a win. Then I would say Holtzen and then Appel. But I don't think all 3 are going to get a win tonight. All right. That's our show. It's in the can. I think we're like an hour and a half, but that's all good. Do you have any final thoughts, Scott?
No, I'm just looking forward to games this weekend and real games and see how all of the teams are going to do this year. This starts off the season. We're all 0-0, so anything can happen.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I'll be hosting trivia when the games go down, but we'll try and check in and ready to get disappointed. All right. For Scott Guessford, this is John Comey. Thank you for listening to episode 1 of MLB Pro's Rough Draft, brought to you by MLBPro.com. There's a hyphen in there. We take our games one day at a time. Have a wonderful whenever it is, wherever you are.